Happy holidays and welcome to DCTV's 24-hour special event in honor of Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is a global generosity movement that unleashes the power of people and organizations to transform communities and the world. And this year, DCTV is thankful to support our community of vibrant local nonprofits. I'm Sydney Flowers, Director of Production at DCTV. Our mission is to tell stories that matter to help our communities thrive. And today we're showcasing DCTV original programs that tell meaningful stories of local nonprofits who work every day to make DC a better place to live. This is just one way we amplify voices in our community. DCTV is your local public media platform, and we are proud to be included in this year's catalog of philanthropy. We hope that you discover something new, exciting, and meaningful. To learn more on how you can best support DCTV, scan this QR code. You can also subscribe and follow us at Your DCTV on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you for watching Meaningful Media on DCTV.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Burnett, Senior Content Producer at DCTV. When I'm out in the field producing segments for the nonprofits we serve, I see firsthand the positive impact these organizations are making on our community. As you're about to see, these services are helping people in any ward with any need. The organizations we're featuring in this segment are Always Hope DMV, Greater DC Diaper Bank, Marijuana Matters, DC Rape Crisis Center, and Community Advocates for Family and Youth. Thanks for watching Giving Tuesday on DCTV. Enjoy the program.
One in 3 Americans face so-called diaper need, the inability to provide an adequate supply of clean diapers for their child or children. According to U.S. Census data, nearly 20% of DC kids under the age of 5 were living in poverty in 2020. Welcome to Impact Moment, brought to you by DCTV. I'm Michelle McCrae. Parents who face diaper need often have to make the hard choice between paying their rent, paying for food, and paying for diapers. But thanks to the Greater DC Diaper Bank, 32,000 families every year have part of that weight lifted off their shoulders. Today, I'm joined by T'Pring Westbrook, part of the DC Diaper Bank's Board of Directors. Welcome, T'Pring.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hello, and thank you for being here. Now, your nonprofit partners with over 75 social service agencies, healthcare providers, and other agencies to provide diapers and hygiene essentials. How are diapers the gateway to relationships between families and social service agencies?
If you've ever been around a little child, a little baby, or if anyone out there is listening who is a parent, then you know that for about 3 years, the need for diapers just runs your life. You need a diaper every time you leave the house, you need to have a diaper. If you're going to work, you need to have a diaper. If you want to take your child to daycare, they need diapers. So diapers are actually kind of this grease that oils the wheel of productivity when you have a child in diapers. But they're not supported through public assistance. They're very expensive, and they can be more expensive in communities of lower income, which is true of so many products. And so being able to provide those diapers for a parent helps alleviate a whole load of stress, alleviates a lot of expense, and it also alleviates, it supports the development of the child and supports the parent in doing, going to work and doing their other activities. And so once that is taking off their minds, then they're free to think about other things and to come into social services organizations or come to the doctor or do all those things because the shame is gone, the logistics have been worked out, and sometimes it's a money issue, and just having the money taken care of allows them freedom to do what they need to do, the parents, that is.
And I'm sure the parents really appreciate the stress relief. So in 2021, you distributed 9.5 million diapers to families in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. 98% of families last year said that receiving diapers reduced their stress levels as a caregiver. We were just talking about that. That stress couldn't have been higher than it's been during the pandemic. How did COVID affect your operations?
COVID was a challenge for us in the same way it was a challenge for a lot of people. We had to figure out the most efficient way to get the products to the families. Luckily, we already had existing partnerships, and we expanded some of those partnerships with food banks, for example, and with other service providers. We also, that 9.5 million, that's an increase because we had to be responsive to the demand, because as we all know, the pandemic created a lot of economic crises on top of existing economic crises. So we worked hard to increase our response to the demand.
I think it's a great concept. Now, one of your partners helps unhoused families in DC. A social worker found that a mom was able to get her child to daycare services 5 days a week because she could save the money on paying for diapers to pay for her bus fare. How common are stories like this, and how do they drive you to keep working?
I work in the kind of nonprofit anti-poverty space, and I know that a lot of the things that me and my colleagues are trying to do in response to what families are asking for in order to get themselves to a place of stability and economic sustainability, they are hindered when these basic needs, because the diaper bank doesn't just do diapers, they also do other basic needs. When your basic needs are hindered, it is hard to find the bandwidth to do anything else, for thinking long-term, because you have this child who maybe doesn't have a diaper, maybe you're rationing diapers. Again, if you have any experience with babies, rationing diapers and runs into diaper rash, which runs into a miserable household because you've got a baby that's just so uncomfortable and they don't know why, and they're just keeping everyone up and agitated. So it's just diapers, but the connections are extensive.
Exactly. Well, T'Pring, we thank you for meeting the basic needs of families in the community, and thank you so much for joining us today. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Impact Moment. It's part of DCTV's nonprofit capacity building grant program, our original programming to highlight the ways our area nonprofits are making a difference. Stay up to date with our latest productions and tune in to our live stream at dctv.org.
From food assistance to education, Always Hope DMV was founded to aid our area's underserved. The organization serves the unhoused, returning citizens, and seniors with job and skills training and their job search. Welcome to Impact Moment, brought to you by DCTV. I'm Rebecca Burnett, and today I'm joined by President and CEO Antoine Jones. Welcome, Antoine.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So I want to talk to you about how you find the people who need your services in the first place, or maybe they find you. How do you get people to get involved in your programs?
And I actually both. We actually Monday through Friday, we go to the community to pass out flyers that deal with COVID, and we engage and we meet a lot of people in the community. We knock on doors. We go to different events. And we just network with other organizations that have seniors, that have deal with the homeless, that deal with the returning citizens. So I meet them all kinds of ways.
And what I love about your programming is that you are not only helping them find jobs, but you're also kind of training them how to become their own bosses if they want to be, using your Entrepreneurship Jumpstart course. You help prospective owners with licensing and registration, but you also cover the fees for all of that, which I think is just fantastic. By doing all of that for your potential entrepreneurs, how is that sort of lifting a lot of a lot of requirements or a lot of load off of their shoulders to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of opening their own business.
Right. Well, since the COVID, we've been out here doing a lot of work, and we have a lot of sponsors that see the work that we've been doing, like Serve Your City. They'll reach out to us and give us funding to start some of these classes, and we get ready to start now. We're gonna do a mobile vending, and we're gonna be hiring returning citizens and some of the homeless people who don't have employment. So our sponsor's been a blessing.
And last year, or the spring of 2021, 7 out of 8 participants of your Entrepreneurship Jumpstart course graduated and went on to start their own businesses. What were some of the ideas that they had, and what kind of companies were they looking to start?
Well, we had a couple of them that does trucking and basically hauling. And we have 2 of them that was doing clothing, vending. We had a young lady who actually did mobile vending, which is dealing with food and dry food and cooked food. So it was basic, that was affordable, but they out there working and they happy doing what they want to do.
Why is this issue so close to your heart?
Well, actually, this is considered a road to my redemption. You know, I made some bad choices in my life, and in the last 3.5 years, I've been working on my road to redemption, and just actually out here, especially during this pandemic, helping people in need. Always Hope is stand for helping other people every day. So that's what we do. We out here, we find the resources. And a lot of these companies don't go into the inner city or go into the areas which they call projects. We go to them and give them assistance and just bring them the love that they need.
Well, thank you so much for the amazing work that you do for your community and for DC as a whole. And thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me.
And thank you to our viewers at home for tuning in to this episode of Impact Moment. It's part of DCTV's nonprofit capacity building grants program, our original programming to highlight the ways our area's nonprofits are making a difference. Stay up to date with our latest productions and tune in to our live stream at dctv.org.
Each year, about 1 in 100 people in DC are counted as homeless. More than half are chronically homeless, and a large portion are men who are on their own. Whether he wants to get off the street, find employment, battle addiction, mental illness, the Father McKenna Center meets unhoused men where they are and helps them toward a better life. Volunteers serve breakfast, stock our clothing closet, and help with applications. Whether it's a single day or volunteering on a year-long internship, we're challenging preconceived notions about homelessness by building bridges between people in our community. We also prevent homelessness in Ward 6 by providing our neighbors with free, healthy groceries from our food pantry, including farm fresh produce, meat, and dairy products. Meeting needs, reclaiming lives. Join us at thefathermckennaCenter.org.
America's public enemy number 1 in the United States is drug abuse.
Racial inequities within the cannabis industry stem back from our long history with the war on drugs, over-policing of Black and brown neighborhoods, which leads to more arrests and essentially devastates communities. And so when we're thinking about the legalized industry, we have communities of folks that would like to participate in this industry but cannot due to prior records that they may have.
If you think about the history of cannabis and then you think about how drug laws have been created and enacted. They always targeted the poor. They always targeted minorities. And when I say targeted, I don't mean it was intentionally done, but you can set things up in a way where it serves one group and it disserves another group.
I had a friend that had to serve 11 years for, I think it was like maybe 2 ounces.
We're working alongside Chairman Mendelson's office to create a bill that once DC is ready to, has the rider removed, that we can create a bill that can do no harm in this communities that have been impacted by the war on drugs.
This bill directs the bulk of the revenue to be redirected into either supporting the businesses, the licensees, or for programs, I'll call them social justice programs, that are targeted to disadvantaged communities.
What we're seeing in the cannabis industry is it's starting to shape up where you're going to have these big mega companies, and then it'll trickle down to the small person, when the small person is the one that really took the risk, really came with the innovation and came with the creative ideas that really shaped the cannabis industry for what is known as now.
We really advocate for the decriminalization before legalization, because if you just legalize, then like he was saying, here come all the big brands. They're gonna swallow up little brands like us.
I'm very concerned that when the legislation is actually able to move through the council and for us to vote on it, that we are gonna see very powerful, wealthy, out-of-state interests that will do their best to try to redirect some of what we're doing here to their benefit. They will make arguments about how what they propose is best for local businesses and residents, but in reality, they will be out-of-state operators.
DC has really provided a kind of a launching pad, a launching ground for cannabis. People come from West Virginia and North Carolina and Baltimore and beyond, New York, Pennsylvania. So a lot of people where cannabis isn't accessible in their state will come to DC to find cannabis, and I think that we should be taking advantage of that.
Washington, D.C. is a very unique place. Right now, because of restrictions impacting us due to congressional budget control, we've been stopped short of developing a full adult use cannabis market. Instead, we have a medical market and what has become a very vibrant and thriving unregulated cannabis market.
There's a lot of upside. I think there's more upside to I-71 than there is downside. I think economically there's great advantages that if done correctly, we all could benefit from. I think it's a great source of economy for the city. It's very taxable, and the thing about people that participate in the I-71 market is that they are willing to pay taxes. They are willing to come into an infrastructure in which they can pay to maybe have some ownership, or pay to have some kind of legalization or protection under the law, the same way any other business owner or entrepreneur would have.
Now, it's a double-edged sword. It's an issue, but it's also a good thing. The issue with it is there's no rules really or regulations that it's a lot of gray area. So it's kind of hard for a lot of people to operate in that space, but that gray area also allows for a room of creativity.
I very much hope that in the future we see an adult use market start in DC, that Congress gets out of our way so that we can fulfill the will of DC's voters.
So-called power crimes, such as domestic violence, assaults, robberies, financial frauds, and homicides, have adversely impacted Prince George's County's and DC's Black and Brown communities. The nonprofit Community Advocates for Family and Youth was troubled by the impact that violence has on youth and families and their professional prospects. Welcome to Impact Moment, brought to you by DCTV. I'm Rebecca Burnett, and today I'm joined by Executive Director Arlene Joel. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. So I wanted to first touch on your Begin Again and Thrive program, which provides emergency safe haven stays for people in need. But then it also helps them find permanent homes, and then also might connect them to a job so they can make enough money to stay there. 60% of people who have completed that program reported that they have stayed up to date on their rent payments. How is that possible? How does the program make that happen?
So the Begin Again and Thrive program was designed to help survivors move from safe havens to permanent placement. And what it is, it allows us to help with their relocation costs as well as their rent costs. We've been able to partner with local colleges to help teach financial skills. And that enables the person, if they've never ever managed finances in the home, managed a budget, or as one of our clients said, micromanage their money. If they've never done that, that gets them into that mode. It's an 18 to 24 month program. And so we're following them along for at least 2 years, not only to make sure that they're okay, but also to assist with any bumps in the roads. I mean, initially we may do the security deposit, first month rent, but then over a 6 or 8 month period, we're still assisting them financially until they're able to, maintain their financial needs. And we've seen really good success because we piloted the program in 2019. 2020 and 2021, we placed over 21 families. And when we most recently did our survey of the 2020 clients, well over 80% of them were still in the same place where they were placed and were able to maintain the rent or only, 1 month behind. And so we do consider that a success.
That's a huge success, especially considering that was during the time that COVID was kind of taking off. So that's incredible work. And I know that you guys are focusing also on, the ins and outs of having a job and being able to be in a home, but you're also focusing on their mental health as well and the trauma that these families might go through if they experience crime. In 2021, your Strengthening Family program helped 41 families over 10 weeks, and 80% reported that they kept using those techniques after they completed the program. Can you preview a few of those techniques and what they learned?
Well, in the Strengthening Families program, that's a 10-week program, and it's really rebuilding the relationships with families. Because anytime I'm impacted by, any type of violence, there's trauma that impacts everyone in that household. So there's a need to kind of rebuild that connection, understand how we're going to live as we move beyond that particular incident. Sometimes children are, upset with their parents, maybe because of violence in the home. And so how do we move on from here? So it's boundaries, it's consequences, it's communication, it's rebuilding all of those things that really can make a strong family. And what's so interesting is that the program actually starts, or the family has to start with having a meal before they come to the session. And so that really kind of gets them set for it. And I think most recently, one of the mothers said like their children were actually using the skills against them because they were holding her accountable for not being on her phone during dinner time. And so that's a good thing.
It is. I love that. That's great. Well, speaking of those testimonials, I wanted to read one because Kathy, of course, also has a legal assistance program and recently helped a domestic violence survivor. She and her 4 kids were able to relocate thanks to your help. She said in part, "Thank you so much for being a huge support in my life. Through everything I'm going through, having people like you to support me makes hard times a little easy to keep moving forward." When this woman and her 4 kids succeed, what does that mean for her future and for also her community's future and her family's future? What waves of change is something like this making?
Well, I think we believe that, children are stable. They're going to the same school. They're developing friendships and connections. The survivor, once again, is contributing financially, to the county, to the state. And also it's building their self-esteem to know that, they are able to be independent, and particularly after, power violence, because those are instances where, your control is taken away from you. So I think that's really the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for the big changes that you're making in the community, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me about it today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to our viewers at home for tuning in to this episode of Impact Moment. It's part of DCTV's nonprofit capacity building grants program, our original programming to highlight the ways our area's nonprofits are making a difference. Stay up to date with our latest productions and tune into our live stream at dctv.org. The DC Rape Crisis Center is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year as the oldest rape crisis center in the country and the only rape crisis center in Washington, D.C. Welcome to Impact Moment, brought to you by DCTV. I'm Rebecca Burnett, and today I'm joined by Executive Director Dr. Indira Hennard. Welcome, Indira.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Well, first off, congratulations. Huge milestone to make it to 50 years. That's so exciting. I know that, of course, you guys were founded to help sexual assault survivors with trauma-informed care. You also have a 24-hour hotline. In short, what have you guys celebrated and accomplished over the last 50 years?
Wow, I feel like that's such a huge question, right? So we were founded in 1972, and we were founded in a time where sexual assault was really being politicized, specifically around women's bodies. And so we first started out with a group of volunteers running a 24/7 hotline. And then as the center began to grow and more funding began to come, we started offering individual and group counseling. We started expanding our school programming. Right now, we're offering still our free trauma-informed individual and group counseling, our 24/7 crisis hotline. We also have a 24/7 hospital-based and community-based advocacy program. And our work extends internationally. We were privileged enough to help open the first rape crisis center in Lagos, Nigeria in 2016. We were on the front lines in 2018 when Dr. Christine Blasey Ford was giving her testimony against Brett Kavanaugh. We went on the Hill to support survivors of sexual violence who were being impacted. We spoke at the National Press Club on what it means to usher in a survivor-centered process for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. Even this past year during the insurrection, we were able to establish a specialized crisis hotline for members of Congress and congressional staff who identified as survivors of sexual assault who were being impacted by the insurrection. So we have accomplished so much, and our work is not done, right? We have bared witness and held space for the unimaginable. What we know to be true is that sexual violence is not a single issue because we don't live single issue lives. And so we create multiple choice gates for survivors that help to facilitate healing.
Quite the laundry list. I'm so glad you guys exist. Such great work. And one thing about that work that I wanted to focus on was the work that your organization did over the COVID-19 pandemic, because your response increased 50%. Why was that exactly? Were you ever able to determine why that was, and how exactly were you able to even meet that need?
Yeah, so part of the reason it increases because what we know to be true is that home was not safe during COVID-19. We saw a lot of disclosures. We saw an increase in sexual assault. And so that's why our numbers increased. And so, as I like to say, sexual assault did not stop in the midst of the pandemic. And so what we had to do is really expand our infrastructure for our crisis hotline and add more lines in order to meet the increase in requests for our 24-hour hotline. Additionally, we brought on more staff to help with the emergency crisis sessions, as well as the individual and group therapy. when we pivoted in order to offer our services virtually, we also had to bridge the digital divide. And so we had to make sure our clients had their iPads and other types of technology. What we also know to be true is because a lot of our clients come from low economic backgrounds, Wi-Fi is a luxury. So we had to make sure our clients had access to Wi-Fi. We had to make sure if some folks had lights, right? So it really was a all-out approach in terms of really making sure that survivors had what they need so that their mental health services and other acute services were not interrupted. And I think what we also learned during this pandemic is that survivors were not just coming to us to deal with their sexual trauma, they were coming to us with intersectional issues. So there were issues around food insecurity, issues around emergency housing, right? And so we really had to apply a holistic approach in terms of how we serve the client.
Of course, the pandemic is still going on, and your numbers are still really, really impressive. So far this year, you've served 350 clients, 120 group clients, and 350 clients in the community, like in hospitals, and you've answered over 4,000 crisis hotline calls. By reaching that many people, how are you sort of reaching the DC Rape Crisis Center's goal of making DC free of sexual violence?
So what we know is that this is a marathon, right? Not a sprint. And so our goal is to definitely serve survivors on the acute level, but also understanding that they have long-term needs. It really starts with education. It really starts with reframing the narrative. It starts with really naming and being able to put language around exactly what is sexual violence. I think what we have learned the last few years, particularly at the height of the Me Too movement, is that folks define sexual violence in a very different manner. And so our work goes really deep in terms of really providing community education and training and technical assistance on not just how to identify sexual violence, but also how to name it, how to respond to it, how to heal from it, right? What can folks do in order to really disrupt that rape culture, right? So we still have a lot of work to do. And I think now that the conversation is more prevalent, particularly on a national level, which is also impacting on a local level, we are continuing on that path in order to really bring voice and break the silence around it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. The work you're doing is amazing and fantastic and absolutely needed. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers at home for tuning into this episode of Impact Moment. It's part of DCTV's nonprofit capacity building grants program, our original programming to highlight the ways our area's nonprofits are making a difference. Stay up to date with our latest productions and tune into our live stream at dctv.org.
Always Hope is a nonprofit that helps the city. We help anybody that's in need. They call us, we here. I made some mistakes in my life and I ended up going to prison for life in prison. And the Lord allowed me to come back and overturn my sentence, and I'm here. And this is my road to redemption. Your address?
33.
What we have here, we give away diapers to the people that need diapers. We give away food boxes. Our sponsor, which is Service the City, is the one who actually sponsors the money for us, for Always Hope. Always Hope is the one that goes into the community.
This program also will help individuals that wants a second chance. All they have to do is just look at this brother right here, Antoine Jones, and if he can do it, everybody can do it.
I grew up in Southeast, Northeast, Northwest. I'm a Washingtonian all the way. I could go other places, but this is where I grew up at. This is where I made my bad choices at. So this is where I choose my ministry. My ministry is everybody who know me is helping people.
Hello, I am Dr. Katrina Polk, and I am the Interim Executive Director of Legacy Collaborative Senior Village. Unfortunately, we have problems with outreach and communication, and people don't know who we are. So we're hoping to leverage the actual products that we get from DCTV through this grant award to be able to put ourselves in a spotlight where people can see us. And now with this particular tool that we will have, we'll be able to reach more people. So on Giving Tuesdays here and moving forward, it means the world to our organization.
Thank you for joining us during our 24-hour special event for Giving Tuesday. We are so glad that you're here with us as we celebrate the incredible work of nonprofit organizations in our community. I'm Julia Reardon, Director of Programs and Services here at DCTV. In 2019, DCTV launched a unique nonprofit program to help local organizations boost their message and their mission. We help nonprofits of all sizes share stories, reach more people, and increase impact for a stronger DC. Through engaging interviews and original programs, we focus on the issues that matter most to our community. To learn more about this valuable program for local nonprofits, visit us online at dctv.org. We can help tell your stories of positive change in our community. To find out more about the nonprofits we serve, scan this QR code. You can also like, subscribe, and follow us at Your DCTV on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for watching Meaningful Media on DCTV.